Hello, hello. Welcome to
Hi.
part 4 of
We
our recap of
made it.
Fourth Wing. Yes, we have made it. We'll be covering where we left off last time through the end.
Yes.
So, if you've
Get
stuck
ready.
around, please share any fun comments, theories. This will definitely be a more spoiler-ish podcast today. If you
Yes.
have
If
not
you have
already
not read,
completed Iron Flame and Onyx Storm, there'll be lots more things probably thrown out there today than what has been in the other two podcasts.
yes.
But
This is the
we'll
whole
get
series spoilers.
started. So excited you are here. If you're listening, hello. If you're watching this, hello.
Hi.
So, all right. So we left you guys off with War Games. You know, the final section of War Games was
Yes.
starting. So good place. Violet had to make a tough choice because two important people in her life were pulling her two different directions,
Opposite
and
directions, and she chose Zayden.
she chose Zayden and the
She
Martwins.
she sure did.
And
Um. So they start flying out towards. Okay, I want to pause for a second already because I have the worst time saying the name of the town they're going to.
it's
As
Ath. Okay, according to the
Athenbine.
audio, it's Athbean is how they say it,
Athbean.
Athbine. But I hear so many people say it very differently. I just go with what the audiobook says.
Athbine. I'll say
So
it wrong. My brain
it's
wants to
fine.
call it Abenthi, which is not what it is. It's Athbine.
It's
So if I
great.
say Abenthi, you know where I'm at. So we leave them, we leave in off in chapter 33. Violet shows Zayden. They're on their dragons. They're flying towards Tyrandor. I also kind of pulled out the map for this part because then we start getting names like we've heard of where these places are. But Athbine is, just so you guys know to picture in your mind because this helps me. It is very much south of Basgiath. It is east of Chaldeer, where the king lives. It's not quite on the coast. You're right there in the middle of the mountains. And we've got a couple things that are around there. It's very close to Tyrandor. It's very close to Eratia. Um, Resson is another place that is south of there, and then Drathis it's the most south place. So that's kind of where we're at from there, where it kind of tells you where you're going. Resson also, and we find this out in the very like top of the book. Like we get these little spoilers at the top before each chapter. It's not really a spoiler; just get more information. We know that they're going to the place where the first known Griffin attack happened after unification. So there's a lot of like just places. I feel like they're sent there for a very much sent there for a reason, and we will find out more in this chapter. So she's on Taryn. She says, we know that she's very much out of the wards. She realizes that it's harder to control. Like it's harder to communicate her magic. She can't feel it. Like she's having trouble communicating and talking to the dragons, and the dragons are like, yes, this is very much something that is more problem. um they land, and they take a break, and Violet says she's worried about Taryn, she's worried about Andarna. It's a really long flight. But Taryn reminds her in this part that it was never your choice. Humans, even bonded ones, do not decide where dragons fly. And I think that's going to be a big spoiler coming up later on. Um,
Yes, that's a big
yes,
tell of her book too. That humans do
yes,
not make choices for dragons,
they
and they do not
absolutely do not.
command them. Like he
Not
says
one
it
bit.
multiple times throughout, and I'm like, ooh,
It's yeah, it's like, hello, you can't tell me what to do. First off, who tells Taryn what to do anyways? Second off, you're a human and I'm a dragon, and this is the Empyrean series, and I actually rule the roost, but I still think there's something more to that.
yes,
But you know what it
wholeheartedly
is.
agree. There's something up with that. I also love how like that pre-chapter excerpt it talks about the trading post at Resson, which is like right close to Athbean, is
Mm-hmm.
constantly a battle of who's controlling it between the Griffin
Yes.
flyers and their riders. I'm like, that's noted for a reason. I didn't pick up much like ominous vibes the first time I listened to it, but second
Mm-hmm.
time I was like, oh, that was kind of a hint of
Right.
like what's to come. And it's already
Yes.
dangerous because they're going beyond the wards, and so it feels
Yes.
really weird. And Taryn even says like magic is more wild beyond the wards because there's not as much of a
Right.
almost like a regulator is what it sounds like to me. Like
Yeah.
inside the wards, it's more regulated than outside, which is I'm like that's interesting.
Yeah. And when I thought about it, when he said that, I was like, oh, it's like Game of Thrones, like Beyond the Wall. Like, it's,
Yes.
you're past the night guard, and, they call people the Southerners, and it's, it's wild, and they're free, and you don't realize how much command you're under in the wards. And I don't think the dragons hate it. I don't think the dragons hate leaving the wards at all.
I don't think they do either.
I don't think they
Like,
do one bit.
I think it probably
Um,
lets them channel more power, actually.
I do
Like,
too. And I think the reason it's harder for them to communicate is because the dragons tamper their power when they're outside of the wards with their bond. They don't let their rider feel. And part of me wonders if that's like they don't let the rider feel so much so they don't like just combust or something. But
yeah.
I think that it's like it is a way. So they're outside the wards, they land, and Darna's going to take her a little. She's like, stay with Taryn, you little shit. Can't believe you flew along with us. Stay with Taryn. Liam actually goes, and, Liam, the best friend, we love Liam, ask if Violet's okay. And the way that, like, he asks if she's okay is in more than one way. Like, you can get, like, it's mentally, it's physically, it's emotionally, it's her relationship with Xaden, and it's, he really is her friend, and that's, I just love it. I just love Liam so much. It's just, ugh.
But I also like where he's the good friend that also kind of tells you the things you need to hear but don't necessarily want to hear.
Absolutely he
When
is.
he's asking her that, she's like, and what if I like tell you I'm not sure? He's like, then I think you got it in over your head. Like,
Yeah.
that is the guy friend
Yep.
response. Like,
Yeah.
that you,
That's the
you
friend that you
know,
need to have to kind of like, everyone has their own check and balance friend. And sometimes you
yeah.
need someone to be like, then you made a bad choice and it's okay. Like, you may got in over your head and it's going to be fine.
Yeah. And he's like trying to like Liam's unfortunately been flirting the line between his loyalty and brotherhood with
Hmm.
Xaden and his actual like caring and friendship with Violet. Like yes, he
Right.
took the position will
Yeah.
that question to be her guard, but like they formed a bond. Like they're besties and he's
Hmm.
flirting that line of like how do I stick up for her but also not be disloyal to my friend.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just and Violet and Xaden have their little moment because like we all know Violet's hurting. Like one,
Yes.
none of the first years are accustomed to flying as long as they've been flying. Like none of
No.
them are, but she is the least equipped and prepared for it.
Hmm.
And everything, and so like Xaden's getting a little flirt on and
Yeah, of course he
everything,
is.
and because that's just when Violet realizes she is the only not marked one in the
Hmm.
squad that Xaden's put together, and he's
Yep.
done it for a reason,
Yeah.
but
They're
she's
having their own little,
yeah, having their own little
their
thing
whole,
by the rocks, and
yeah,
he's like, no one's gonna tell on me in this group, and he's right. Like every one of them would die for Xaden
right.
without
They owe
question.
him his life. He carries
So
it. He carries their mark. Like they legit owe him that. Like he owns them in like not a way that he would ever violate. But so they're having
right.
a moment, and I love the part where Xaden goes toward the bond because we hear from a woman. Just Xaden and Violet are doing their Xaden and Violet, and someone hollers his name, and it says "silly to hide what's already been seen," and it's just like, what the fuck is fixing to happen? And Xaden is like, Violet, I need you to stay calm, Violence, through the bond. Like he's not saying anything,
Right.
and she's like, calm, and it's like, boom, shadows, and that's the point where she's like, oh shit, like we're outside of the wards, and she immediately hollers for Taryn. And then when the shadows clear, because like the woman said, there's no point in hiding what's already been seen, we see two Griffin Riders, like just 30 feet away, and they know it's Violet, and they know it's Xaden, and, you know, the the dragons start to land, the marked ones start coming out, but Violet's like looking around, and no one's drawing any weapons. Like, these are their
Yeah.
mortal enemies up to this point, and no one's drawing any weapons. And Violet's like, what is happening? Like, what is happening? And it's like Xaden makes a point to be like, if you've ever trusted me, now is the moment to trust me. And then he looks at the freaking the Griffin Riders and goes, "You're fucking early." And it's like, boom,
This
like
scene,
mind
like,
blown.
you knew crap was going down as soon as, you know, he's like, Violet, I'm so sorry. I'm like, oh crap, what has he done? Like, what has he done? You know, and then the Griffin Flyers are showing up, and it's like, oh no, what are they involved in? You know, because, like, it's foreshadowed through the whole thing. He's the rebellious son, you know, like, da-da-da-da, all this stuff. And you know something's not quite right, because we got those inklings earlier that, like, we know Basgiath is hiding things. They're not sharing all the information, but we just didn't know how deep that well was going.
Right,
And
right. And it's just like one of those things, and it's like Xaden, like Violet's always stood up for Xaden, like, don't call him a piece of shit. He's more than he's just his relic. He's more than this, he's more than this. And then all of a sudden, in one sentence, he's been working with the quote unquote enemy. Well, what we think is the enemy right now in the book.
But also she's not only like stood up for Xaden, but all the marked ones. Like, she's just been like, you don't treat them like that. You know, they're people. Like, she's always seen them as fellow writers and not marked ones.
Right.
And stuff. And that's just like, it's such a hard feeling too, because she realizes in this moment her dragons knew.
Yeah.
Like, Tiernan and Darna chose to keep it from her.
Yes.
You know, and obviously we can argue it, like, and Darna just went along with what Tiernan was doing, because Tiernan was supporting his mate. That's when he's like, well, there is a bond stronger than a rider and its dragon. And she's like, your mate. She's like putting it together. But I do like how the funny instance, like when they first show up, we get the first, like, nice glimpse of Sassy and Darna. She goes, ooh, the griffins look tasty. You know?
Yes!
And Violet's like, they're the same size as you are. Stop. Like,
yeah,
I love that. She's like, ooh, food.
Yeah. And Darna's like a little hungry dragon. I love her. She's like, I need a snack. Can I have a snack?
And, like, we have this, like, exchange between the Flyers. And, you know, this is when it all starts coming out, that the marked ones have been smuggling daggers out to the Flyers, because the daggers that help power the wards also fight Venin.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks Venin don't actually exist. They're a bedtime, you know, story.
They're a bedtime story. They come to get the kids out of their bed at night. Nope.
But also the Flyers came because they're warning them that Resin is about to be under attack. And it's like, what? You know,
they're very much.
Yeah, they're trying to warn them. So in hindsight, yes, they're writing them out, but they're also giving them the heads up, like, you need to either peace out or get ready. Like, here's your options. They're very, you know, direct with it and stuff. But I do like, they're like, oh, Sorrengail, you know, you're worth some ransom. And they're like, don't touch that, Sorrengail. Like, you know, like, not at
like,
all.
no, that's not something that we're going to do. And it's like, no, she's not hostage. No, that's the least of your problem. So then, you know, Violet again notices that she's the outsider. Like, she notices that and like all of them have betrayed her. Like, her relic friend, you know, her rebellion friends, Liam, her best friend, you know,
throws that at Liam's face too. Like, was I ever actually your friend? Because, like, he's having to hold her. Like, it talks about, like, Xaden basically passes her to him, and he's like, I really wish I could. Like, I wish I could let you go.
Because Violet is, like, firing up. Like, she starts to channel. She's like, fuck this shit.
I love it.
These are my enemy.
Like, yeah, and, you know, the sky's crackling. Like, she's about to blow some shit up.
She
is. If she doesn't get some answers.
Like, she is. And it's like, Liam's like, we're friends, Violet, but I owe him everything, meaning Xaden. Like, that's... she's always going to be your friend. And then I like the line that, you know, Liam's holding Violet because she's tiny, holding Violet, and she said Xaden like reaches for her, and she says, "If you ever think about touching me, I swear I'll fucking kill you." And Liam's like, "I think she means it."
Yeah.
Like, she's trying to be sassy in that moment, but he's like, "I think she means it."
But without question, he's like, "Oh, I know."
Oh yeah.
But I do like how that exchange calms down. The Flyers leave, and the
Yes.
other marked ones are trying to get ready to proceed on to Athbean because it is War Games. They got to figure out what's
Yes.
going on. And
Yes.
it's like, Imogen's like, "Good luck, Ryerson."
Yeah. They all step off and
like,
leave Xaden and Violet alone and be like,
yeah,
let me explain. I'm not a traitor. The
yeah,
Flyers, not, Violet calls them Riders, and he's like, Flyers. And that part kind of pissed me off because I was like, first off, you have just betrayed your girlfriend, your partner, your mate, dragon mate. You've just betrayed, and I'm like, and you're going to have the gall to like correct her. I would have just been like, zap, like I'm going to lightning you just a little bit, just a little static shock of death, because that just made me so mad. I was like, how? First off, how dare you correct her? But, and then he says, like, and I even, like, wrote it down. He said, "Did you ever once stop to think that sometimes you could start out on the right side of war and end up on the wrong one?"
yeah.
Meaning the Venom, meaning, Violet's mom knows about the Venom.
That's
Basgaiath
when she
knows
starts
about the
putting it
Venom.
together, though, because
Yes.
the dagger that she saw on her mom's desk. And he goes,
Yes.
"Yeah," and Zayden's like, "If she's smart, she carries them with her."
Yeah.
Like, but that's also too where like I thought it was funny that Zayden corrected Violet over the Flyers because I'm
Yeah.
like, not the best choice in the argument, but also he's warned her the entire book. He can't tell her anything.
Right. Like
He's
the
told
whole
her
time.
the whole
I can't tell
time,
you
and I'm
anything.
like,
Just trust me.
granted, he should have figured out like she was open to hear things because she's very smart, like she's very open minded, but
Yeah.
she does at least give him a chance to kind of explain stuff, and then she's like, "Oh, Venom are real." Like he's given her a chance. Like if I give her information, we'll
Mm-hmm.
talk about me keeping it from her later. you know,
Right.
like,
I'm.
but it's an odd exchange. And that moment, listening to it, I was like, "Oh no, how
Yeah.
have they hidden this from so many
Yes.
people?" And I'm like,
Yes.
how have so many riders, scribes, because infantry and healers have to know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, how deep does it go?
Right. And then,
You
you
know,
get the element of like Zayden. There's another element. Zayden can't tell Violet because of fucking Dane. Like he
right?
reads memories. Like he can't let that slip because right now he's very black and white like Violet is. So it's
Yeah,
just it's
it's
one of those
very,
things.
and it's so hard. And that's when she's like, "Oh gosh, my dad was giving me the hint the whole
Mm-hmm.
time,"
Yes.
and it's just like, okay, and in that moment, that's where I'm like, Papa Sorrengail, that just affirmed to me that Papa Sorrengail was assassinated. Like,
Yes, for sure. Like heart failure in a fantasy novel? No. Heart failure in like the South because we all eat fried chicken. Yeah, that's absolutely it. Heart failure in a fantasy novel? No, I don't buy it one bit. That's not where it is.
right, not when you're stationed somewhere with a mender and like the best healers ever
We're
across the
like, I can heal you in
continent.
the
I'm
hands,
like,
but heart failure? No,
heart
no. They just Violet's like a
failure.
little broken skeleton every other chapter, and they're like,
Yeah.
got it,
Well, especially
healed.
in like her dad being
Yeah.
essentially a poison master because he's really freaking
Right.
smart. You couldn't tell me you couldn't figure out
Heart
something to take
failure.
for your
Give me a
angina,
break.
but
Right? I'm like, give me a break. Give me a break.
but that
Oh,
that really sealed it for me. I was like, somebody off Papa Sorrengail because he knew too much, and it
absolutely.
made me wonder in that moment. It's like, were they worried he was going to create a problem for the story they were trying to tell?
Mm-hmm.
Like how long is
Right.
he going to be silent in this? And stuff. And I think they figured out he wasn't going to. Like
No, he
maybe
was not.
losing Brennan was like the last straw.
Mm-hmm.
Like lost Brennan. His other daughter was becoming a writer. He's like, I'm done. Like,
And then,
mm-mm. It
This
makes
is
me
way
wonder,
more
but it
right.
was also crazy. So they go on to Athbean,
Yeah.
and this was wild when they get there and the outpost is empty.
Empty. Completely empty.
Chills. Because it's like, that wasn't just, a squad of 6 dragons. The entire outpost was vacant. So that's hundreds of people. Because there's infantry, there's healers, there's scribes, there's their riders, and like any other auxiliary people that are there, gone. Can you imagine? Like, you already know there's like Venin coming. The flyers have warned you, and then you're gone. You realize you've been screwed. Like, thoroughly screwed. They did not buy you dinner first. Like,
absolutely. And
not
it's like,
all.
right. And then like, it's like they land and Garrick's literally like, what? And he's like, I have something. And Xaden stops and is like, wait, what did you say to Dane? What did you say to Dane? What did you say? And she's like, I didn't say anything. And this is where we find out where he's like, did he ever touch your face like this?
Yeah.
And he puts his hands on his face like Violet does. And he's like, that's the way he always touches me. Like, that's the way he always touches me.
And then it's like, go ahead, sorry.
And then he's like, Dane's been stealing memories the whole time? Hold on, there's a cat trying to get in my room. And if I don't open the door, he's going to have a meltdown. But it's like, at that point, you're like, Dane, what the heck? Like,
and it really sets
stealing stuff the whole time.
Yeah, and it sets Dane up to for sure be the villain right now, because Zay didn't even ask her. He's like, "What did Dane say to you before we left?"
Right.
And she's like sitting there, and she's like, "I'll miss you, Violet." And it's like, "Oh, I'll miss you, Violet." Like, Colonel Atos set them up for death.
Absolutely.
And it's like, and Dane helped. Like, in this current moment, it's like, he was saying bye to Violet. Not like, I'll see you in 5 days. Like, bye, I'll miss you. Sorry. Like,
yes. He's like, I'm
the
done.
feeling, That's the moment when I was searching on my phone how much is left of this book. I'm like, no, there's so much plot left to happen, but also not enough.
There's so much. It's like, there's like, okay, sorry, cats. My cats are like, hi, Mom. I haven't seen you in 10 minutes. Are you still here? So there's like, this is on page 450, the last line of chapter 35. It's like, we've been sick here to die. There is only 400, like, there's 48 pages left in the book. Like, you only
that's
get
all that's left.
this much. This much is what's left. And you're just like, what is fixing to happen? So when we go into chapter 36, I want to kind of put a trigger warning on top of this. This chapter is a heavy death chapter. So if that's something that you have a struggle with, please fast forward, skip to the end. But from here on out, there is a huge death. Like, death is going to happen. So if that's something you don't want to listen to, we love that you're here. If you have to skip out early, we understand, but please don't. Please listen in if you can. So I even wrote down in our little notes that says, read the opening header, which is the little thing before that. And it said, for there in a land between the shadows were monsters that dwelled in the night and dined on the souls of children. We hear that again, who wandered too close to the woods. The wyverns cry, the fables of Beren. So we know that Venin are coming. Like, we already knew they were coming, but we get here that Venin are, that you're fixing to get into Venin. And it's just a wild ride from here on out.
It is. And like, at the same moment, they're at the outpost and they realize they've been set up by Colonel Atos. Because he did it on purpose. He sent the marked ones, as they did, as the wing leader, to Athbean, beyond the wards. Like, the outpost only gets emptied off of very high orders. They don't just go for a picnic. Like, they were told to leave. Yes. They're all putting this together, and they're, Xaden has a moment where he's like, okay, they're coming. What do y'all want to do?
Yeah.
We can go to, because there's another location they're told to go to in the letter that they get from Atos. Or we can stay and fight. And every one of them is like, we're riders, we fight. Every one of them accepted death in that moment. More so than when they crossed the parapet and when they bond their dragon at Threshing and the gauntlet and all of it. In this moment, this is where crap is real. It's thick, it's real. Xaden tries to give Violet an out. She's like, no.
Yes.
I'm fighting too. and
Yes.
everything. Like, it's just so, and then, you have Liam using his farsight. It's like, I
We
see
got
a
a big
wyvern, but I don't really know what they're supposed to look like.
right.
But
Like we've
something's
got
not okay. And that
something.
also, you're just like, wyvern?
Yeah.
You're just like, what is
Yeah.
happening? And so they lay it on. They've all accepted that here we are. We could be all flying to our death, but we're going to go try to save the people at Resin and fight with
Mhm.
the squad of flyers. Drift of
Yep.
flyers. I'm like, what do they call
Yes.
it? It's not a
I
squad, it's a
know.
drift.
Yes. And it's
But
like
it's
they
crazy. Ugh.
yes, and Liam uses his far sight, and he's like Zayden says it more than one time. I don't need to hear what you might see. I need to know what you see. Like I don't want to know what might be there. Um,
Right.
and then there's a comment that I think foreshadows so much for the rest of the whole series. Someone says nature likes everything in balance. And we don't really understand that line until we keep going through, especially in Onyx Storm, and we'll get to all of that. And we see that Liam's like, nope, there's there. We're not afraid to fight. There's four Venom. He sees four Venom, and this is okay. This is where Venom are purple. Let's go out right there. Venom are like bluish purple beings. And if you have ever seen The Emperor's New Groove, shout out to millennials, the guards in Cusco's palace are exactly what this noggin picture is Venom. The little people with the red and blue robes that are half blue, half red, little purple people.
So I picture those, but also the Koopas and Mario that were like the
Yes!
Koopa wizards with the blue hat and the blue and purple
Yes!
robes. That's who I picture.
I was like, I'm sitting here thinking like, they got on purple robes and they're hurling blue fire.
Well, they
And
got
one
these
of
big
them,
nasty red
they got
veins and
veins, and I'm
everything. It's
like,
like,
wow, what a horrible, disgusting sounding creature. I almost like, I did it, but I was kind of like, ew. I just had to close the book for a second because I was like, are you a slime person? Like, did you
oh
come
no, there was
from a
no
swamp?
closing it or hitting pause. I was like, I am locked in until this is over. I cannot put this
Yeah.
down.
Oh, so,
This is one of those. If you'd been like, oh, one more chapter, I'm going to bed. Spoiler, you wouldn't have gone to bed. You'd have read this.
You wouldn't have gone to bed. You're going to finish it. It's 48 pages. You're going to finish it to the end.
Oh
But,
my gosh. Yeah.
we see them and then, the flyers are flying out, the dragons are landing, and the dragons are like, we have an advantage because we have the air. We have the air advantage. But do they? No. Wyverns. Nope.
Yeah.
Wyverns. And it's Violet's like, is it in this moment of like, they're going for the attack. Violet's taking a second and like, the book my dad gave me is real. This is not a fairy tale. This is something real. And there's so much more to what's going on. This has been 400, 500, 600 years of fables while the Venin have been out in the Barrens just building up power over and over and over. Um, we see that, dragons can talk to griffins through the mines, and Taryn's like, how did you think we talked to them? Like, of course we can.
How am I supposed to know that? I've never met a flyer until today.
Right. And she's just like, of course. I was like, she's just like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so stupid. And just like, we can know that dragons talk to griffins. There's a whole lot of information dumping. Like, you can burn a venom with dragon fire, which kills, 99% of everything, but they're the 1%ers.
They have to kill them are those alloy daggers, which is crazy.
That's why you should take all your antibiotics, because you're creating super beings. They're the 1%. They're the 1% that lives if you don't take all your antibiotics.
That's excellent. I love that analogy so much. So they're like the VRE of the fantasy world.
They're the MRSA of the world.
But it's wild because, you've got a bunch of young 20-something-year-olds, and the flyers are not that much older than them. There's a lot, we don't learn as much about the flyers in this book, but later we learn they're around the same age when they go to their flight academy and all of that
Yes.
stuff and everything. So they're all, we'll say, under 30 easily. You know, like mid
Yes.
20s is probably how old they are. Um, they're making a plan. They're trying to rescue the civilians because it's regular people living in Resin. You
Yeah.
know?
They didn't get
And
the Colonel Atos letter to abandon ship. They're probably all
no,
abandoned from
because it's a
Athenby.
huge trading post. Because despite Navarre and Poromil, sometimes the brains, not being, you know, kosher, they do have certain trade agreements where they will
Yes.
exchange certain goods, you know.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and Resin is one of those big outposts. So there's a lot of people there. There's a lot happening. So they're trying to figure out how can we save as many people and get as many people safe as we can.
Mhm.
And whoever survives, survives. Like, it's a
Yep.
wild,
It is,
and
and it
there's a
is, and
lot
Liam sees
happening.
the
Yeah.
mountain, sees a little you know, a mining cave in the mountain, and they're all trying to get there. Salil and Day and Salil's dragon are all trying to save these townspeople. And when we see the female Venom come and land, and she starts to channel, meaning she puts her hand on the ground and pulls energy from the earth to fuel herself. So she, you know, they get energy by creating it. It's not given to them by a dragon. It's not given to them by a griffin. They literally pull from the earth to get
And they're
their,
essentially sucking the life out of whatever it is. Because, like,
yeah,
the ground dies, the plants die, like, everything. That was illustrated so well on the
it really
page.
is. It really is.
And, oh, that scene when we lose Soleil and Fuel, I was like,
Yes.
but
I was
also
like,
the amount of power she got from that, too. She got the
mhm.
almighty power from a dragon. It was just, oh, you know, because even Terran and them, they tried to blow them up because there was, it notes a building with explosives in it with the Mari crest on it, which I'm like, where's that going to
Yeah,
come into play later?
right.
Um, it does
Because that's
nothing.
an outpost. Yeah, like, are you
You know, like,
traders?
yeah, it didn't even slow down the venom. You would think, like, at least it would, like, wound them, slow them down,
Nope.
direct something, but it was like, still here. Like, they're
Nope.
the
The only thing it took
cockroach.
out was a
You
wyvern.
know.
The wyverns
Yeah.
are not impervious to dragon fire and things like that, or
No,
stuff,
but they
but
are very much equal air superiority to the dragons. Because
yes, they
their
are in
fire is
every way, shape, or
dangerous to
form.
them, also.
Yep. Yes.
We get this crazy exchange. Violet's trying to wield her lightning and take out a target. She
Hmm.
can't aim worth a crap.
Nope.
She
She's
can't.
trying to distract one so Bodhi can kill one.
Yeah.
And then we get Liam, who is a badass. Liam is such a great fighter, and Violet looks over, and Liam needs help. Liam needs help. He's, you know, fighting a venom and a wyvern, and one, you know, it's in a chase. And Day, this is so cool in my head because she describes it so perfectly. Day tosses Liam in the air. He tumbles, lands on the wyvern, and slits the venom's throat. Then afterwards, he jumps up off the wyvern that's falling, and Day catches him again. And Violet in that moment is like in awe, and she has this statement, and she's like, we actually might be able to do this. We actually
Yeah.
might be able to survive. Um, no, sorry. Like I said, there is no this is a heavy chapter. It's a very heavy chapter.
Yeah.
And then
But
a wyvern comes. Oh, it's just it's heavy, and a wyvern's coming for Violet and Taryn, and Day jumps in front of it and takes the attack that was meant to end Violet and Taryn. And it's, you know, Day takes a final wound, and Violet hears Liam scream, and Taryn sees, you know, that Day is no longer. So Day took the final fatal wound for Taryn, and dies.
what also, like, in doing that, obviously we were losing Liam, who's
Mhm.
perfectly healthy, a little battle
Yep.
worn, but you know the quote, you know, a rider without their dragon, you know, is dead. We
Yep.
see it come to fruition in this, and it's so sad because you feel like Violet feels Zayden's grief. Taryn, you know, is upset, and she's like, Taryn, what do I do? So she's trying to get Liam to Day, you know, so they can pass together. Liam's trying to tell her something he's figured out about the wyvern and the venom, and she's not picking up on it just yet. He's like, kill the venom, you know, but he's trying to tell her, but she's so focused on trying to get him today before he dies.
Yeah.
Like, this was
it's
so hard.
heavy. It was
Like,
so heavy.
I am not a crier when it comes to movies, shows, things. I had to walk away because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to bawl like a baby in this exchange right here, because it's so sad. And I know a lot of the fandom is like, oh, Liam sacrificed himself for Violet. I'm like, actually, Day sacrificed himself for Taryn.
For Taryn. So there's a reason why Taryn and Violet have to stay alive.
Which begs to question, why did Day sacrifice for Taryn? Did he do it because, you know, all the dragons know each other, talk, because he knew that if Violet dies, essentially Taryn, Sigale, Xaden, like, all, we take out too many power players? Or is there something else? How important really is Taryn? Like, we know he's huge. We know he's smart. He's an excellent battle strategist. He's a super powerful dragon. But he's not the head of the den. He's not technically an elder, it doesn't sound like.
Nope, because Coda is older than him.
Right. We know black dragons are rare, but why did Day do it? You know, we don't know how old Day is. Maybe him and Taryn go way back. You know, they could be big buddies, you know, or something. Or maybe they have some weird agreement, you know, kind of like Liam's protecting Violet and Day and Taryn like, we'll always protect each other. Whatever, you know. But it just makes you wonder. I want to know Liam and Day's conversation in this moment.
Oh, I think I just have been like, eat.
Oh, it would hurt so bad to
really
relive it. But also, I wonder if Day was like, we've got to do it. And Liam's like, okay, let's do it. Let's save him. You know, because I feel like without question, Liam would be like, yes, this is a choice we're going to make. It's fine. But it's like, you know, it's such a sad exchange. But that's also when Violet figures out, if you kill the venom, it kills whatever wyvern they've created. So instead of them running around trying to kill all these hundreds of wyvern, let's focus on the 4 venom that are still in play.
Right.
You know, and it's just,
she's like,
oh, it's so hard because we get the line of, it's been my honor. It's like, no. Like,
honor. It's so hard.
Oh my gosh. Like,
it's
when someone's
so
ever like,
hard.
Is there a book quote that wrecked you? I'm like, this is one. This is one.
It is it. This is it.
Yeah.
And so Violet, you know, we lose too. And Violet even says we can't lose Day and Liam. They're the strongest. They're the strongest of our year. And that's so true. So you realize in that moment that it is a sacrifice. Like, they chose to sacrifice. Well, not they. Day chose to sacrifice himself.
They chose together, but in what we have on book is Day chose to do it. But it's a heavy sacrifice, but it lets them figure out remotely how to hopefully not lose anybody else in this scenario.
Right. And then it's like Violet's getting prepared. She's starting to channel. She's like, you know, Xaden is like, you can kill them, but there's no me without you. You know, we have another little moment. She's preparing, and we see Violet channels, and she kills a wyvern, and she, you know, she gets ready. She's got her straps, like she's got her goggles on, and she never sees the wyvern from the left until she hears Taryn's roar of pain. The way she ends these chapters, it's just killer. Like, it's like one-liners, like, we were sent here to die. Not until I hear Taryn's roar of pain. And it's like, it was just one of those crazy things about, like, you know, you never see, you know, he never sees one coming. You never see one coming. I keep getting a notification on my phone about like storage,
yeah,
and I'm like,
your phone's not liking your storage. But
it's not at all.
It's just,
but it's okay.
It's a lot of it, and you know, there ends up a venom on Taryn's back that Violet dukes it out with. Violet also gets stabbed with a poison dagger, and like all this craziness happened. They end up getting down to where they kill 2 of the venom. One of them pops out of there like, deuces, check y'all later.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as Violet takes out hers, she falls off of Taryn, which is crazy.
She does.
You know, and Xaden pulls one down and kills the last one that's still there. And we already know poor little Andarna is hiding at Athbean because everyone was worried for her because she's
Yeah.
tiny. She's already used her magic to slow down time. And
Right.
it's like Violet, that description of Violet falling is insane.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it's like she slowed down because poor little, and Darna's not big enough to fully catch her, but she can keep her from going
No.
splat. And it's
She is.
like,
She's there. She comes there and
oh,
she
it's just
uses her
so,
power.
I
She
know,
uses
it's
her
so gut
power,
wrenching.
all of her power, but only, Violet makes a note that, and I kind of like that. She says only what you need,
Mm-hmm.
only what you need. She strikes, she hears Zayden screaming, you know, at one point I've read like she strikes and kills the venom. Maybe Zayden stabs it. I don't really know. It's
Yeah.
kind of fuzzy what happens in that moment. And then she just falls, and Violet. We go to the next chapter, and Violet is screaming. Zayden screaming. She's like, I actually think I might die today, because it's been like this kind of ongoing joke where it's
Yeah.
like, I will not die today. I will not die today. I will not die today. I actually might. Oops.
Yeah. And it's
Um.
also what she's talking about, her senses are like getting dulled. Like she can't feel her connection to Taryn. Like
Right.
she's losing, like everything's muffled because the poison's taking over. And like you hear
Yes.
the excerpts of everyone trying to figure out what to do. It's like we've got to save her. She
Yes.
sacrificed herself for us. We have to save her. And
Yes.
there's some back and forth with the Marked ones. They're like, it's going to expose everything we've been working towards. And Zayden's basically
Mhm.
like, I don't care. We also get the exchange of they're kind of like, okay, do we take her body back to Besgaiath because it's a long flight, or do
Yeah.
we hop over to Eratia, which is supposed to be
Yeah.
burned to the ground, and save her? And Zayden's
Right.
like, we're going to Eratia. A couple people buck back, and he's like, get out of my face.
Right.
like,
It's
you
like
know, it's
Taryn screaming,
wild.
and it's like Zayden's like, Taryn says he's gonna eat him if she dies, which he very much would eat him if
Yeah.
Violet dies. And we have to say, for a familiar voice calls out Zayden, like Zayden, Violet's like, Zayden, what is happening? And then we get into chapter 39, which is the last chapter
I do
of the
also, before
whole
you hit
knowledge.
that,
Yes.
I do love how like Taryn lets Zayden ride him to Eratia.
Yes.
He's like,
Yes, I
no, I will be taking my rider to Eratia. Like Taryn, we love him, but he's like,
remember that.
mm, she's mine. You either strap her
Yeah.
to my back or you can ride me. And
Yeah.
like
Yep.
in past, he's like, yeah, you can ride me when I'm a skeleton.
Yeah.
like, but he makes accessions or something for Zayden.
He's
But
just,
we land in Eratia. Oh, such a good
oh.
time.
And Imogen's just like, are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Everyone's like, are you sure? And it's like, but Zayden's like, you have to fight, you have to fight, you have to fight. And this whole book has been in Violet's perspective. This whole
Yeah.
dang book. And so this little word right here that says Zayden, and you're like, in my head, when I read that, I was like, well, she's dead. I didn't know,
I know. I was like,
you know,
oh, she killed her off in
she
the
did.
first book.
I was
like
like,
when I
dang.
saw it was in Zayden. But I love how they get there and he's like, you have to save her to somebody
Right. Who
that
who
we
is it?
don't we
We
don't
don't
get their
know.
name, but
We
oh,
don't know. But
oh
then, we get Zayden's point of view, and then we hear Sigale using a voice gentler than she's ever used with him before, being like, she'll be all right. And then Zayden is just pissed. He's like, you don't know that. She won't, you don't know she'll be all right. It's been 3 days. Violet's been out for 3 days. Zayden is in just full panic mode. He doesn't know what's happening. He's got grief over Liam. He's brought her to Eratia. We don't really know why it's a big deal that he's in Eratia, other than the fact that it's like, oh,
it's supposed to
it's
be a
secretly
smoldering
here. It's
ruin.
supposed to be, it's not here. And, you're just
like
like, you know, Taryn's like, you should have never told her about the venom. You shouldn't have done that. I should have waited. Now, you've told her, and now she's suffering, and Taryn's all pissed. And Zayden's just like, well, we could have done a lot of things differently. She can't die. She can't do this. She can't do that. And he like turns his head, and there's Violet, like sitting with her eyes open, like smiling, like, hey, hey, I'm awake. Hey, I lived. And Zayden's like, you're alive, can I check your side? Can I check your wound? Zane's like, I'm going to lose you, and Violet's like, you're not gonna lose me. Like, you're not gonna lose me. Everything's fuzzy, and he's getting, hugging her and all this other stuff. And then, she's like, Zane's like, I promise I'm gonna make it up for you. And then she said, make it up to me. And then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
everything in the last 24 hours really started to click in what happens. And she immediately pulls away. Like, don't touch me. Get away from me. Zane, is like, she just starts to like flare, her eyes flare is what they say. And, she glances away and like she kind of zones off. And you can tell in that moment that she's checking with her dragons. She's like, hey, did y'all make it? Is Andarna alive? Is, what's going on? Xaden tells her, she's like, Andarna's not quite the same, but she's her. And then like that ends the quote and it's like, she's fucking huge now. Like that's what he said. He's like,
Yeah.
she's huge. So in that moment when, you know, she matured from a little baby golden dragon to a fucking huge dragon in just like 3 days time. So I don't know if it
Right.
was the stress that caused her to like rapidly age, or you know
Yeah, like
what caused it.
currently
But
we don't know why she aged so
right,
quickly. We've
right,
beginning Iron Flame we kind of figure some of it out, but
yes, yes,
but
and
I
it
also like when she's processing all that, she realizes where they are and she's like, real or like rebuilt are never burned, because she also knows not to trust all the things she's been
right,
told, which
right,
sound like speaks volumes to how mature she can be. I
yeah.
say can be because she's not most of the
This
time.
chapter, this chapter right here, where she's like, "Eek," and like yoinks her hand back. It starts
Yeah.
my hatred into Iron Flame. It starts, and Iron Flame has got some really nice parts in it, and there's parts of it that I really like. The miscommunication in it starts in this book, and it goes on through the whole fucking book of Iron Flame, and it's just
But
it will.
also,
I'm sure we'll talk about it more in
it
the
was also
next.
sad when she asked him to, did Liam really die? Like
Yeah,
hoping they saved him, and he, like, oh,
yeah,
it was awful. Then they decided, like, she's like, I want to take a shower. I will see you later. And like, I like how Bodhi kind of goads Zayden, like, yes, please go shower. Here's
yes.
my
When he
room.
tell he
you
sounds he
know?
sounds like didn't he tell me, oh, you smell like dragon ass, like you
Yeah,
smell like dragon ass, like go take a shower. And Zane's like, bye, gives in the bird.
yeah. But also, like, they know, like, Bodhi's arms in a cast. They found a
Yeah.
relic of some kind in one of the towers. They didn't
Mhm.
realize it was. Turns out it's a Venin lure, and so they end up destroying it. But like
Right.
Garrick's dragon is like real good with runes and
Right.
weird things, and that's are like foreshadowing that runes are coming into play
Yes.
for the next few books. And I'm like, I love it. I wish I could see what the runes looked like. I would like
I
some
wish I could.
art.
Okay, so here's the thing.
um,
I have a thing. I think this is a rune. Like, I think that like these little like the drawings on the front of the books, because there's one there,
yes.
and then on Iron Flames it's different. Like,
Yeah, like it slowly like changes. I don't have Iron Flame and Onyx Storm
right.
in
But
here,
like
but like
in
it changes.
but I think those are runes in my head that make sense for them to be runes. And like, because it kind of like is levels like built on top of each other, and
Yeah,
I think that I think they're runes.
I agree.
And
I
then
think they're runes. I just, they talk heavily about this in Iron Flame runes and everything. But I'm like, anytime a book talks about like the old language or something, I'm like, I want to see it.
I want to
Like,
see it.
write it
Let
on
me
one of
see
these
the
pieces of paper.
hieroglyphics.
Yes, like I want to see it so bad. But they have this crazy exchange, and like Zayden even knows, like he's trying to hurry up and answer her questions before he interrupts, and it's like, he who? Like, is this the
Like,
same he who healed her? Is this the owner of the house they're
yeah.
in? Because it's not
Like,
exactly
where are?
like we know this is somewhere Bodhi and Zayden have rooms at, but we don't
Yeah,
realize it's Zayden's house. Like,
yeah.
hello.
The castle.
Yeah. But I love Exer, like, who the he is who just barges in. I was
Right. And it's like,
jaw
Amok.
dropped. Um,
It was so. It's like they're having their back and forth again with the miscommunication. I don't love you. Yes, I do. Yeah, I don't love you. What if it's not possible to love you anymore? And Zayden's like, you'll still love me. It's possible. And then it's like, you gave me your heart and I'm keeping it. Like, you gave me your heart and I'm keeping it. It's possible and all this other things. And then there's another knock at the door. And Zayden's like, fuck, is he impatient? And it's like, you have about 20 seconds to ask a question if I know him. Like, you have 20 seconds. And she's like, she's like, I'm hoping that the missive was really about war games. Do you think there's any chance we just happen to end up in the middle of a wyvern attack at that outpost? And then the next statement is like, that definitely wasn't an accident, little sister, he says from the doorway. And I sigh and move to the side, watching Violet's eyes, and she sees who's standing in the doorway, and Xaden says, like, I told you I knew better, potion masters. You weren't healed, you were mended. And Violet says, Brennan? Like, Brennan? And she said, and then Brennan, the last line of the book is so great. And it's like, Brennan just grins and opens his arms. Welcome to the revolution, Violet.
It's crazy. And then, of course, she's known, you flip the page, acknowledgments. But it was just like, Brennan's alive.
Brennan's alive. After all of that.
Right, but there were so many, because there was
yes
several months before Iron Flame came out. Like,
oh yeah,
Fourth Wing came out in May, and I'm gonna say I read it in like June, July.
Yeah.
Iron Flame came out in like November, which
right.
is not that long of a wait on a book,
no,
but it was
really
long
not.
enough. I was just.
It hurt.
What? Oh gosh, it hurt so much. Like, I re-listened and reread this multiple times.
Yeah.
I hadn't experienced a book slump or book hangover ever until Fourth Wing.
Right.
Like, I don't even know what to do here, so I'm just going to reread it and re-listen to it a couple of times. Because that's when I was noticing, I was like, oh, she set that up good with some good foreshadowing and everything.
She did.
But I had lots of questions. As one, it was like, okay, if Brennan's been alive this whole time, why does nobody know that?
Right.
Outside of Eratia, where they are. How did he mask? Like, did he fake his death?
Right.
At this point, it's like, did he fake his death and all that? We find out later, like, no, he looked dead. He looked dead.
He was pretty out there. Like, he was,
but it was
just
kind of done. Wild. There were so many weird takeaways. And also, I thought there was a misedit in the battle scenes at Resen where it talks about Liam is throwing spears of ice. I was like,
oh, yeah.
Was there somebody else that she was going to have there? Like, was that supposed to be another Mark Twain signet? Or was, like, Riddick supposed to be with them and she, like, switched it out the last minute? We find out later that people can have more than one signet. Spoiler.
Spoiler. They can. And
but
it's
on
very...
that, I was like, interesting. I was very thinking, oh, is that a misedit? Did we change it out? I wasn't thinking a potential of a second signet.
Right.
On any of my rereads of Fourth Wing. Excuse me.
And, like, whenever I caught that, like, I caught that later, and it was kind of one of those, like, Liam tells Riddick to guard Violet like he's her. Like, guard her like you're me. And in every way, shape, and form, his second secret signet being ice, Riddick is an ice wielder. I'm just like, if Rebecca Yarros kills Riddick off, I'm just going to close the book. I'm not finished. I'm not finishing the series.
Especially how
after
things
Onyx
go
Storm.
Down in Onyx Storm.
Right.
And, like, I loved Riddick from the first moment he appears in these lovely pages.
He's so good.
I always love the comedic character. He's my favorite. I love Riddick. I love Fenris. I love Carrion. There's so many. I'm like, yeah, you're my favorite. I like you. Like, you're funny.
I like you.
But there's so many weird parallels, and it makes me wonder how much from this book is going to parallel with books 4 and 5.
I think a lot.
She said it's a 5-book series, so I'm always like, okay, where are we drawing the lines and everything? But I didn't think much about it being ice until later. I'm like, is that an inkling for us to know that Riddick is going to be stepping in as Liam as much as he can?
Right?
from that one throw off line. He's like, guard her like your meat. Riddick takes it to heart for everyone that's
Yeah.
read what's out of this series. But this book, it's so good. It was
It's
the
so
first
good.
time in a long time when I read it that I was like, oh, this is so good. It's a good intro into the fantasy world for a lot of
It
people.
is.
Um, and I know it gets a lot of flack from a lot of people. I can understand why, but also it's a good time.
It
It's a
is.
good time.
It
I
is.
read for vibes. I don't read to find out plot holes.
We
I don't
love it.
read to and I enjoyed it. You
I
get it.
enjoyed it.
But I was emotionally wrecked
We all were.
by it. And
We
I
all
had
very much
never
were.
read anything else by Rebecca Yarros because I'm
Right.
not a big contemporary romance
No.
reader, and she
Well,
writes a
I
lot
don't.
of those.
Yes, and a lot of military, and I'm not military like we talked about in the very first, so it was just not. But this was for someone writing their first fantasy novel. It was very good. It was very good.
But I was just like, I don't know if she writes a lot of gut wrenching cliffhangers in her other books or not, but she knows
I
how
think
to do
so.
it
She
well
does. She hurts. It
because
hurts a lot.
Iron Flame, gut wrenching. Onyx Storm,
Well, I can't even go there.
we
I
will
did the
get
book slump
there.
that put me in.
I did
Mm.
not get put in a book slump with Onyx Storm because I planned for it. I
Oh no,
planned ahead.
I did not plan. I was sitting on
Um,
my love seat, staring at the ceiling,
oh
like,
my
well, I'm
gosh.
never gonna read a book again.
I purposely paused a really good series I was in because
Yeah,
I knew I was going to need something I could fall back on.
yeah.
And then I also re-listened to Quicksilver because
Hey,
everybody needs a little Anthony
oh,
Pomini in their
Quicksilver.
life.
That's gonna be a fun one. That's gonna be a fun one.
Yes, that
But
one
guys,
we will be talking about that one.
we
Yeah.
will, and we thank you for sticking through our first book. We finished our first book.
Yes.
We're good. We're so glad you're here. Thank you for listening in. Of course, like and subscribe and follow us. We're on
Yes.
Spotify and YouTube.
Please,
We
please,
like to
please,
share
please
funny things on
share
Instagram.
fun
We like,
theories and hot
yes,
takes, where how you felt about it. We love to hear them. We do share funny things. Our next podcast will not be covering Iron Flame. We're going to take a break and talk about some fun things
I'm
with
very
it, and then we'll
excited.
hop
It's
in.
going to be
Then we'll
fun.
hop into Iron Flame after we take a couple podcasts off from it, because that's a good deep dive that will take some time as well.
It will. But
But
thanks, guys, for
thank
listening
you for joining
in.
us.